Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Axes and Aprons. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 things that are probably stopping you from homesteading and what we did to overcome those obstacles. Just take a seat at the nice tree stump chair. So I think that the hardest part about trying to start homesteading from nothing is finding land that you can use appropriately for your goals and your needs. So for instance, for us, it took us more than 5 years to find property that we were satisfied with. We hiked through dozens of property and land, and we just never found exactly what we wanted. And I was very particular about some things. My husband was very particular about other things. For instance, we knew we wanted woods and we knew we wanted a natural water source. So like we have a pond, we also have like a little creek going through, but most of the properties that we looked at didn't have woods or water sources. Now, I think this is a very difficult thing because most people don't have the patience. If you want to start homesteading and you want to start doing it now, it's really hard to just say, oh, I'll just go online, find land, and it'll be perfect. It's like very rarely the case. Things that we considered were that we wanted enough space to ride four-wheelers, we wanted enough space to have livestock. We actually are trying to get horses, so we needed space for pastures and for barns. So if you don't really have a savings, you're probably going to want to start to get one if you're trying to homestead, because there's a lot of upfront costs and the land is the biggest, and it's expensive right now. Acreage is going for a mighty high price. And you can homestead on just a couple of acres. We really did start homesteading in our suburb house, and that was like less than an acre, but our entire garden that we have now was there. It just took up most of our yard. So that's just something to consider. And you know, I'm really glad that we have the space now because we are going to expand our garden and we have that option. We have a lot of options because we have the land. All right, and that's enough about land. And I now am gonna go into the woods and plant some ginseng. Also, on the topic of ginseng, this is obviously like a good way to have an income on your homestead. Obviously, we're not going to see any profits for this for 4 or 5 years, but it has given us farm status for our taxes. And so if you can figure out a way to become a farmer, I really think you should. And you can do this on a smaller scale too. Like, this is actually a very small scale, but it's highly profitable. So we get a lot of benefits from a small pack of seeds every year. We get a little bit of a tax break for that, so that's really great. So to mark where I am in the woods, I'm putting up these little flags that we got from our dog's e-collar thing, and this is just to help me remember exactly where I put ginseng seeds so that I'm not like going for a hunt later. Something that I also think is going to be a hindrance to homesteading is the funds. Money. I think that it's actually a lot more expensive to start an entire homestead from nothing than people think, especially when it comes to that first point of buying land. Kind of mentioned it before, but land is so expensive. Also, if you're not buying land with a house on it, expect to pay a lot of money to get that as a functioning place to live. Cabin that we live in was like a summer cabin, not really livable for year round. Kind of more of just like a fun thing to do on the weekend. We had to do a lot of work to it and put a lot into it to make it basically livable. And it's a tiny little cabin too. So that means that we needed somewhere else to put all of our stuff. The first thing that we did when we moved in was have a barn built. Pole barn built, and that cost a lot of money too. And we paid cash for that. We did a lot of savings ahead of time so that we didn't have to pay with credit for anything. I think that's something that also people should start considering now, is saving for their future homesteads and thinking about what kind of infrastructure or tools that they're going to need. We live pretty poor. Like, people probably assume that we're poor based off of our little cabin. Local people, that is. That's fine with me, I don't care. But our utilities are so low. Our electric never goes over $80 a month, ever. and we heat with wood. So we save on utilities, we save on living in a tiny little house, and we can take those savings and put them into the homestead itself. These are things that need to be thought through ahead of time, because you're not going to want to do homesteading on credit. Like, that is just going to suck. We live like this because we can be more self-sufficient and we can save money, but it does take a lot to do up front. If we didn't have our jobs before this, we wouldn't be able to do this. That's just a blatant fact. That I was a nurse 5 days a week before moving here, made pretty good money, and then my husband has a great job. So the combination was very beneficial for us to invest in our future. And so that's how I saw all those upfront expenses was an investment in our future. It was worth it, but that might not be worth it to you. So you've really got to think that through, if the money is worth it or not. But you don't have to go all out. You can go a little bit, and you can kind of make baby steps. We didn't, so you don't have to. You don't have to do it like us. But because we didn't, we spent a lot up front, and now we're building our savings back up. But we can do that because we live so minimally, and we don't really have much for utility bills. So our monthly expenses are low. But just like the land costs a lot of money, but you don't have to have as much land as we do. You can homestead on a smaller amount of land. You don't have to spend all your money on stuff that we did. We thought it was necessary, but it might not be necessary to you. So you might not need to have a huge nest egg of savings before doing something like this. And if you do, great, but you better start saving now. Also, I feel like I need to mention this, that we had built up a savings because we knew we wanted to get land and we knew we wanted to do homesteading. But the urgency in which we bought all of our things was because we wanted to just already get it done with. And that's because I was fired for not getting the jab for my job, my nursing job. And so you can prep and you can be a homesteader for many reasons. And our main reason for homesteading is because it is, to us, the ultimate prep. Because you never know what life is going to serve you. We didn't know life was going to throw us a curveball like that, and we just felt like we are not prepped the way we want to be prepped. And this is the ultimate way for us to be prepped. The last thing that I think is going to be an obstacle, and I think this one is very underrated, will be time. Homesteading takes a lot of time, like all the time. All your time is wrapped up into it. And we've gone a step further and we homeschool. So we homeschool and we homestead. So every bit of my time is spent doing something. I have very little free time for myself. I don't work now. I do. I work one night a week. And one night a week is all that my family can take. It would be detrimental to our family life if I were not here all day long. For homesteading, you need to be home. You just need to be home. So if you have to have 2 incomes and 2 people working, I think it will be a very big challenge, and you might end up just quitting homesteading or your job. Something will be quit because it's just too much. Taking care of animals, taking care of property, gardening, it's a lot. Canning, preserving, all those things, it adds up. I will say there's a very big lull in the wintertime, and it's awesome. And I can really focus in on school, really spend a lot more time with the kids, because right now they're off running around somewhere, and I feel like I'm not spending that much time with them because I am out here harvesting mushrooms and planting ginseng and taking care of chickens. So you have to be ready for the amount of time that you're going to have to spend on, and there's really no tip for it. The tip for time is time management, and however that works out in your family, that's how it works out. And for us, it was that I don't work. That is the only way that we have been able to do this. There's some hidden mushrooms here that I almost didn't see. Our family's goal is to have my husband retired from his job between like the ages of 45 and 50, and we're 33 and 34. So that's a big goal. The job's great, but we just want him home and here, because the more hands on deck that we have, the more we're just going to get done and the more we can do. So basically our big thing right now is gardening and preserving. That's what we can do with one person full-time and one person part-time. My husband manages the firewood, so his part-time job is like, it's taken up. Tree falls in the woods, my husband's doing that on his day off. So I really think the time is very undervalued, and it really needs to be considered. If you already are tied up in your own life and you want to start homesteading, I really, really think you should second guess that. Second guess something, whether whatever's tying you up or the idea of going full-time in on homesteading. Again, no one needs to go full-time in on homesteading like this. You can do a lot from a suburb house. You can do a lot from even a balcony. I had gardens on balconies when I was just married with my husband. We lived in apartments. We always have been growing something from anywhere we could. And it's kind of funny when we look back on that, because now we have a great garden, and obviously we're growing mushrooms, we're growing a lot of things now. But our goals are just intensifying. So we want to double our garden this year. We want to double how much we're preserving. We want to grow more of our own food. You know, and these are things that we always consider, because do we have time for it? If you don't have time for it, you're going to start a garden and you're going to let that garden rot because you won't be able to harvest anything. You'll be exhausted. And then if you do harvest it, will you eat it? Will you preserve it? You've really got to value your time more than anything. And you want your home happy. And if your home isn't happy and you don't have things in order, your homestead's just not going to work out and you're going to want to quit. These are wine cap mushrooms. They're really easy to grow, and we just started this year, and this is like our third or fourth harvest, and they're really good. They taste so good, and we cook them in like a barbecue sauce and with onions, and we put them on burgers, and they're just amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but I think there's a lot of things to consider before you go into homesteading, and I think there's a lot of things that will prevent you from homesteading, and it's not for a lack of trying. I just think that there are some things that are in the way. Fortunately, we were able to kind of overcome those things, and I don't think it's possible for everyone, but you know, if you can save your money, if you can get lucky and find great land, and you prioritize your time, you'll probably have a great homestead. All right, well, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video.